Good morning! Welcome, my digital pathology trailblazers. So happy to be here. And let me start with apologizing because I'm using a new platform for streaming. And it's a little bit like you go to a conference and there is a person in front of the screen trying to switch slides and they cannot switch slides, and you're like, oh my goodness, PowerPoint has been there forever, and this person cannot switch the slides. Please get over it. So yeah, I couldn't stream yesterday. And I've gotten a few emails from you, and I see you joining. Thank you so much. At that, where's the recording? Where there was no recording because we didn't stream because we had technical problems, meaning we switched streaming platforms. I don't know how much you care, but I see that a few of you joined today. So happy to welcome you here. And you know what? This new platform, I know I care more than you, but let me show you something. It can even play music, background music. Oh no, why is it so fast? Anyway, there is gonna be a little bit of um, testing today, but let's start with testing our chat and testing messages. I'm gonna just say hi to everyone, and let me know where you are tuning in from, because if you are here, I appreciate you very much. Let me know where you're tuning in from, and once a few more of you join, I'm gonna tell you what we have today. We have something super special. Actually, I'm a little distracted with this music, so I'm gonna switch it off. Maybe later when I look for something, I'm gonna switch it back on. I'm gonna visualize the chat so that I can show the messages that you send me. But Trailblazers, we have something super, super special today. I kind of have been waiting for this for over a year. So, what happened? There is a resource about AI that we can all use, and no excuses anymore that there are no resources, that the societies are not stepping up, that our education is, the training is not good enough, because we have the resources. So, let me tell you the story how I knew that it's going to happen. So, what am I talking about? I'm talking about the here. A little bit of clicking, guys. Stay with me. But there is a series in Modern Pathology. Modern Pathology is the journal of United States and Canadian Academy of Pathology, USCAP, which they have a conference very soon in March, and I'm going to be there. So if you're going to be there, let me know in the chat. I'm going to USCAP. USCAP. And how do I pronounce it? I don't know. I have to ask somebody from the society, from the academy when I'm there. Are you pronouncing it USCAP or USCAP or ASCAP? People have different versions. Anyway, going back to the main topic of our stream today is we have this 7-part artificial intelligence review series. So basically, US Cup stepped up and invited a lot of people, and this is what I'm showing you is the introduction. Let me tell you who is responsible for this. The main responsible people that, well, they are not the only authors, but they worked on it pretty hard, are Human Rashidi, Matthew Hanna, and Liran Pantanowitz, and they are from the Department of Pathology, University of Pittsburgh Medical Center. And they are working on making it a super strong AI in pathology research and educational center. And what happened? How did I know about it last year already? Even the year before. Actually, I knew about it in 2023. Let me switch my. Shoot. Sorry for the clicking. I'll be better next time. Anyway, so I met Human at ACVP, American College of Veterinary Pathologists Conference, where I was a speaker and he was a speaker. We spoke at the same session, and he was talking about synthetic data. And there's going to be a paper on synthetic data. We're going to be talking what that is. But he mentioned that that's what they're doing. That's what Matthew and Liron and a bunch of other experts in the field are doing. They're working on this 7-part series, and I'm like, okay, good for you. You're working on those papers, fantastic. By the way, if you let me know in the chat if you can hear me and if you can see me well. Just a confirmation that everything is working. So we sat at dinner together and we were geeking out on AI and different image analysis and different things. And he told me about those publications. And obviously, he's author of many publications. I'm like, okay. And then I went to the US CAP conference and I learned from Patrick Miles, the CEO of Path Presenter, that Raj Singh is also contributing. And then I learned about other people contributing. So it kind of made this thing real for me, but you never know when those publications will be out. But now they are out. And basically, they gave us super timely, peer-reviewed, I don't want to say blueprint, but definitely a guide, and they call it a guide. Let me show you. They call it a review series. Anyway, so okay, fantastic. Thank you for letting me know that everything is okay, and also let me know where you're tuning in from. And super big, huge appreciation for everybody joining on Saturday morning. Maybe it's not morning for you, but doesn't matter because yesterday when I told my husband, oh, I failed with this live stream yesterday and I have to do it today, because if I don't do it, then it's not going to be done. And you are not going to have this particular part on AI. Anyway, long story short, he says, who's going to show up on Saturday morning? I'm like, they're going to show up. I'm going to show you. And now I'm going to take a screenshots of how many of you are already here. And I'm going to show it. I'm like, here in your face, honey, they came. So without further ado, other than reminding you to tell me where you're tuning in from and what time it is for you, let's go into what do we have today. I'm just checking, like, what's the best view? That's not the best view. I guess this is the best view where I'm very tiny. Then I can make myself bigger and smaller. Just want to show you one thing. Can you appreciate that I can have this pathology background here? I'm like super happy about my new software. I know I'm probably the only one that cares. Anyway, so we have this resource in Modern Pathology, and what we're gonna be doing for the next 7 weeks or more, because when I went through the first paper, it may be that it's gonna last longer to discuss it in the live stream. So anyway, as many live streams as it takes, and I see, oh my goodness, 12 a.m., 12 a.m., p.m., I think, because p.m. is midday, right, in Paris. So thank you so much. So perfect lunch for Europe, perfect lunch activity for Europe. Anyway, so 7 weeks or more to discuss all those papers. And what I'm gonna later do, and this is what I'm preparing with my team, like a new course space at Digital Pathology Place, which is my platform, and my website, where all those live streams, my editor is going to take them and he's going to take out all these rambling of mine and all these, like, tell me what time it is where you're tuning in from, which is crucial for you to not fall asleep during the live stream, but not so crucial for people watching the recording. He's going to take it all out. He's going to polish it. And this is going to be available together with the papers that can be downloaded right now. You can start reading them, and an audio version of this, because there's going to be the audio versions might be longer because there are tables, there are images, there are things that I would like to read aloud for you, but I'm not going to be doing this in a live stream, because then we would have to have like a 5-hour live stream. Although gamers do that and the people watch. But you know what? We are busier than the gamers. So let's discuss what we've got. This essential 7-part artificial intelligence review series. I'm using a different mic today as well, so I want to stay within the range of the mic. And this 7-part AI series. Let me make it even bigger for you if I can. I'm not sure. This is serious within modern pathology. The responsible organization is USCAP, and there are contributions from global experts, which is fantastic. It's not just like me reviewing some more or less random papers coming to my inbox from PubMed. It's actually people who are doing it, people whose departments are digital, are embarking on the AI journey. So we have a contribution from everybody who's doing it, and probably working out the kinks and developing as they work with it, which is fantastic. And this series is intended for pathologists, clinicians, laboratory professionals, researchers, trainees, students, and other healthcare providers with essential knowledge about the present use, upcoming trends, and future possibilities of the AI in medicine. So basically, they're going to tell us what is the state of art right now, including generative AI, including everything that was before, the combinations. And obviously, this is now, I don't want to like say set in stone, but this is like frozen resource, so the development is going to be ongoing. But in the next 2 months we're going to go through this, and we will have a super nice basic understanding. So what we're going to cover here, and I know this is a long intro, but then we're going to jump into the first paper. They're going to cover the fundamental principles, key AI terminologies, and there's a big table of terminologies today that I'm going to leave for the podcast and not for this live stream. Practical applications, but also ethical and regulatory challenges, complexities of generative AI, non-generative machine learning models, essential statistics. That's going to be a fun one, guys. For this one, for the statistics, I will need to prepare better than just show up with the paper. Ethics, biases, and regulations. And this is going to help us navigate the wide range of AI applications within the medical field. There is a dictionary of 200 crucial AI and machine learning terms. That's the table that I'm going to show you later. Anything else in this intro? Oh, okay. So they are showing us the different. Can I change the color of this? I want a different color. Yeah. Anyway, doesn't matter. But they are basically telling us what they're gonna cover here. So Article 1 is here. That's gonna be today, basic principles, generative, so large language models, chatbots, non-generative AI, and basically the fundamentals that we need to know to even be able to speak this language. And I see more people joining, so let me know where you're tuning in from in the chat. I can see the chat, I can show the chat. Also, if you have any questions, in the show notes or in the comments of this live stream, I'm going to pin the links to all the articles. Some of them are available online as pre-proof, or it has a name. I'll tell you the name. But Human sent them to me on LinkedIn, and I said, yes, I'm going to review all of them, and I'm going to make people aware of them, because this is a fantastic resource for me, for you, and we can create interactive content around it to teach people about AI. In Article 2, we're gonna talk about generative AI, ChatGPT, large language models, image generation models. Right, so that's gonna be generative AI. In Article 3, the focus is going to be on non-generative AI, predictive analytics models. So this is widely used in clinical decision support. This is the things that are making it into the space of medical devices. These are the algorithms for detection, classifications of cells. The non-generative is not disappearing. There is a merger of generative and non-generative, and that's what makes this space super exciting. Mm, Okay, so that's article number 3. And number 4 serves as broad statistics tutorial. That's going to be interesting. So why do we need to care about statistics? And I need to like make myself care every time I'm working on a new model, because if you don't know how to the statistics for this particular application, it's not just general statistics, but for AI model evaluation, this is a little bit of a different statistics than we use for other stuff. So we need to and they are different for generative and non-generative AI. And so that's what they say. So, Perplexity, this app that I'm sometimes using as my AI assistant, this is actually a name of a performance metric for generative AI evaluation. And there's different things like bilingual evaluation under study scores, and for non-generative machine learning, this is all based on confusion matrix. So this is the false positives and true positives, false negatives, true negatives. So this is the stuff that we know, that is a little bit more popular in the literature. So it's going to be accuracy, sensitivity, receiver operating characteristic area under the curve, uh, and others. And they have a full article number 4 about it. So maybe we need to schedule 2 hours for that or split it into 2 live streams. And I have people from Brazil. Hi, Brazil. What time is it in Brazil? Let me know what time it is. Uh, okay, so that was 4. What do we have? Where do we have our number 5? Guys, this is 6. Here, 5. Article number 5, overview on this regulatory landscape. So obviously a big discussion not only how to regulate AI, how to regulate generative AI. And there is an FDA guidance on how to use it, which we need to cover in another live stream. But that's going to be after we finish this series. We're going to be locked into this series for the next 2 months, if everything goes according to plan, or even 3 months. But it's worth investing into this, because after going through this, your AI conversations at conferences in your departments are going to be at a totally different level. So in Article 5, we're going to review the regulatory landscape. I'm also interested, and also, like, when you look at the authors, we're going to look at the authors of the first one. These are going to be the experts in those fields. So if you like need questions, need to reach out to people, these are the people that are going to be able to help you in whichever capacity they are able to help you beyond providing those manuscripts, right? Anything else in Article 5? Yeah, data privacy, of course. Software is a medical device. This is a big thing. Agency approval process. So this is going to be super important for vendors, for my digital pathology trailblazers on the vendor side. Reimbursement policies and guidelines for LDTs, laboratory developed tests. So that's going to be an important one as well. Article 6 is going to explore ethical and bias considerations. Yeah, super important to be aware of that, because then we create tools that can propagate the biases in the data, biases like societal biases. It's a big thing. And already given the healthcare disparity in the world, we don't want to make it bigger. And these tools, if no like checks and balances are introduced, they can make this gap even bigger. They can make it a lot smaller, or maybe even eliminate it. But it can go either way if there are not proper controls in place on different levels, right? So and they provide a thoughtful examination on how AI can both help and hinder equitable medical care, from biases embedded in training data to potential for AI to reinforce existing disparities, right? So they urge caution and how to mitigate ethical risk, because a lot of these approaches is going to be basically risk mitigation. The risk is going to stay there. What are you going to do to avoid and to mitigate this risk? And our article number 7 is going to look towards the future of AI. The future probably is going to be next week or before we finish the series. There's going to be something new there, but that's okay. I wanna learn about the maybe not projections, but the thoughts of where is it going to be, how it's going to pan out across the US, across the globe. What are the obstacles to adoption? How can we increase the adoption? How can we change the way it's being deployed to be able to deploy it in places where it's not possible to deploy yet because of logistics, because of whatever, right? So yeah, operational needs within pathology and medicine. And this final article not only touches on the machine learning operational aspects in this new field, but also speculates on the near term and long term impacts of AI. So we'll see. Maybe some of the speculations are already happening or didn't happen. So that's going to be an interesting one as well. And basically, this is designed to be an indispensable quick reference and guide for anyone involved in pathology, medicine, education, and AI research. So anybody who touches this needs to read this series. And I am super happy about this because it's experts. Um, it's created by experts, created by people who are doing it, and like commissioned or organized by United States and Canadian Academy of Pathology. So we have a resource now. This is something we can teach wherever pathology is taught, right? So let's move to article number 1. And this is still journal pre-proof. Maybe they already have a proof. So today we're going to be talking about introduction to artificial intelligence and machine learning in pathology and medicine, generative and non-generative AI basics. And who are our experts? I'm going to be mentioning them because that's important. We have Human Rashidi, Joshua Pantanowitz, Matthew Hanna, Ahmed P. Tafti, Parth Sangani, Adam Buczynski, Brandon Fennell, Mustafa Dibaja, Sarah Wheeler, Thomas Pierce, Ibrahim Abukiran, Scott Robertson, Octavia Palmer, Mert Gerd, Nam K. Tran, and Liran Pantanowitz. I know we not always mention all the authors. I do want to just acknowledge them, that this is based on their work. So thank you so much for doing that for us. And if you're just joining, let me know. I know it's early in the morning for some of you. For me, it is 6 a.m. So this one is the introduction to the comprehensive 7-part series, and here we're going to be talking about the fundamental terminology in AI. ML is machine learning, AI ML, and there's an extensive dictionary. This dictionary is in the table at the end of this article, which you will be able to download looking at the comments. Or I'm going to also send out an email with the recording and with the links to the whole series and to this particular one that we watched today. And this provides a broad overview of the main domains of AI and ML field, encompassing both generative and non-generative, which is traditional. So generative generates, non-generative doesn't really generate, it reproduces maybe. They have better definitions. So let's start at the beginning. In the 50s, in the 1950s, Alan Turing, this is an important name, Alan Turing, planted the seeds of this revolution, AI revolution. He developed so-called Turing test, and that was a standard test to check if machine has a capacity for intelligent behavior comparable to a person. How exactly they test it, I don't know. But the Turing test is something that comes up, and they test basically for AI, for artificial intelligence. Is this AI or not? And then in 57 we had neural networks, artificial neural networks, ANNs. And in the 70s, there was the introduction of expert systems. Mm, and the next big thing was the creation of deep neural networks, deep learning methods that have further propelled AI and ML into the forefront of medical research. So, deep learning is um, and the convolutional neural networks are used for imaging. Let me just go through the paper. Let me not freestyle too much, because they have it explained very nicely. And because of that, the AI and ML algorithms can now assess large quantities of data, image, text, and tabular data. This is going to be something important. Pay attention to the different types of data. And this has already been demonstrated in radiology for a long time, um, but also in pathology, that the AI can help with tasks such as identifying breast cancer within mammograms and detect prostate adenocarcinoma in whole slide imaging. And we know who made this as a medical device, the only FDA cleared system for AI, computer aided diagnostics in pathology. But there are other different things that are happening right now, like breakthrough designations um, happening for other softwares. So there are going to be tables, and I have this, like, which table you need to look at. We're going to look at it in the end of this live stream. But we need to start with the definition. I remember in 2019, I went to a conference, European Society of Toxicological Pathology, and that was when the ToxPath world was maybe not starting, was already like embarking in this AA journey. And that's what I started my presentation with. And you can see this in my book as well, but they have a super cool table with a lot more terms that we're going to look into, basic concepts and terminology of AI and machine learning. So let's start with data types. Let me just see. And if you are just joining, let me know where you're tuning in from. Data types. Three main data types in medicine. We have images, including video. So video is important. Video. So one time, we always in pathology we always whine like, oh, how big the whole slide images are, and they're so big, and how can we logistically solve this? And then I heard that surgeons do like hour-longs or several hour-long videos of surgeries that they also store that are comparable or exceed the size of whole slide images. So I'm like, okay, we're not alone. But still, we're special because whole slide images are just special, right? Anyway, the image includes video, and there are algorithms for video as well. Then we have text, including audio and numerical data. And there's a figure for this. We're going to go through that figure as well. And those different types of data, the image, text, and numerical data, they require certain preparation activities to be processed. So different for images. So images are going to be computer vision. This branch of computer science is going to be used for images. Then for text, it's going to be, and what are we going to do in computer vision? We're going to classify images, for example, distinguish between cancer and non-cancer. And we can segment images, for example, segment nuclei, segment cell nuclei, or whatever we want to segment, right? Segment is basically delineate some stuff in the tissue, like maybe tumor mass versus non-tumor mass. And that's going to be computer vision. Then text is going to be natural language processing. So everything with text, this is also natural language processing, is the name of a branch of computer science, right? So we have computer vision, we have natural language processing. And here are our friends, large language models, ChatGPT and the family, and there's a big family, Llama. I need to try this Llama because it's a cool name. Anyway, Llama by Meta. Um, and our GPT stands for Generative Pre-trained Transformer. So, of course, it's an abbreviation. And then finally, we have the tabular numerical data. So this is the like all the numbers that we can get from patients, and they can include continuous and discrete values. And this is very common data type employed in electronic health records and can be used for various predictive modeling tasks. And these can include but are not limited to predicting disease states, patient responses to therapy, and patient outcomes. So yeah, images, text, numbers. And you know that the power lies in combining all of them, right? We're going to be talking about that. Um, so, regardless of the data type, irrespective of the data type, um, it is crucial to understand different categories of machine learning and AI. So we have supervised, unsupervised, and reinforcement learning methods, and they can apply to all data types and all um, branches, like all data types and both the supervised and unsupervised AI. So there are, different divisions of how you can talk about AI. But I like the division by data type and generative versus non-generative. They thought it through. If we adopt this division, then we all are on the same page talking about that stuff. Mm, so um, many of the generative AI tools that people now, I love this, are enamored with. Yes, I'm a little enamored. I'm a little enamored with all those new technologies. And then I start using them, figure out that they have limitations like all the other technologies, and then I become less enamored and more like, okay, how can I plug it into my workflow? How can I use it responsibly? But it's like across the board. When random forest. First, I learned about random forest for image analysis, and it worked fantastic in one image, and then I'm like, yes, it's the new best thing, and then it wasn't. And then the same for deep learning, it worked fantastic. I'm like, let's get rid of the thresholding, and then it's not, there is no one tool fits all. I'm searching for this tool, but it's non-existent. Anyway, and people are enamored with ChatGPT, or if people are not, I was at the beginning. I still think it's a super powerful technology. And it, the chat gpt is constructed through a pre-training step. So this is the unsupervised or self-supervised thing. And then there is a supervised and reinforcement learning approach that make it even better. And for example, something called reinforcement learning with human feedback. Of course, it has an acronym, RLH, RLHF, reinforcement learning with human feedback. And so let's talk about what is supervised, unsupervised, and this reinforcement. Supervised is what we know from image analysis projects. It's the ground truth approach. It's the pathologist giving labels. Basically, if you hear the words label, if you hear ground truth, gold standard, all this is pertains to supervised learning, because we supervise it. An expert supervises it. Sometimes it's not expert, sometimes it's like an additional method. But the supervised learning then can be divided into other subcategories: classification and regression tasks, and we have a table for that as well. And classification is predicting a categorical label of or class. So for example, malignant, benign, cancer, non-cancer, one type of tissue versus other type of tissue. Basically, you classify something. And this can be classifying whole site images as tumor or non-tumor. And regression tasks involve predicting a continuous value or range of values, for example, concentration of a biomarker in blood or likelihood of disease progression over time. And the these supervised application rely on human experts. So this is where we're going to be annotating the data with correct diagnosis or classification. So we can leverage annotated data. For example, sorry guys, I'm trying to click again between the windows. Leverage already labeled data. So for example, image in the report. What else? Image and some genomic data on this. So basically, we already have pairs of labels, or we can leverage the human expert, which is not scalable but necessary, which is going to be annotating, having a pathologist annotate features of tumor, having a pathologist annotate. Where the tumor is versus where the tumor is not on the slide, and then feeding this into the system. That is supervised. We have labels, we have ground truth. Unsupervised, obviously, is we don't have all these things, right? So this is unlabeled data sets, no ground truth. And some of the most common ways of doing this type of AI is clustering, dimensionality reduction, anomaly detection, and also the unsupervised part of pre-training method, also known as self-supervised. That is something that we're gonna be talking about when it comes to ChatGPT, large language models. There is a table for this, and it enables this enables the machines to identify patterns. So basically, like cluster or group data points that are similar. For example, clustering algorithms can be used to group patients based on their gene expression profiles, right? Like, not feasible for a human to cluster, to group this type of data, right? And AI can do this for us. Then also the dimensionality reduction techniques like principal component analysis, or this is super cool because I knew the acronym TISNE, but T distributed stochastic neighbor embedding. This is the TISNE plots. If you know them, you like group points, like a multi-dimensional data points on a two-dimensional plot, and you see, oh, there's a group of dots that are together here and then there. Basically, you make them 2D, make like three, and make multi dimensional data you visualize it as less dimensions. Yeah, so this can be applied to high dimensional data sets from, for example, from mass spectrometry, proteomics, and this can help us visualize and identify patterns in protein expression. And also this can facilitate the discovery of outliers. So you have a group of data points together and there is something far away. The self-supervised or the unsupervised learning can help with that. And then we have reinforcement learning, and there is a figure for that as well. So this is where something, us or something else, it can be AI as well, it gives feedback to the system that we are developing, so that it can get better. So this is the ability to make decisions through iterative interactions with its environment. This autonomous agent acquires the ability to make decisions. So a program, an AI system, gets feedback and then gets better. It receives rewards or penalties as feedback for its actions. And then, for example, in the context of large language models and chatbots, what we can utilize is reinforcement learning from human feedback, this RLHF, and also reinforcement learning from AI feedback, or LAF, I prefer full words than acronyms, but RLAF, RLAF, I don't know. Anyway, so you can optimize the model. You like design it and then give it feedback. And with feedback, it gets better. And if you are just joining, let me know where you're tuning in from, because I see people. It's a long live stream today, so there's going to be people coming and going. You will have the recording of this, and you will have links to the papers. But just when you join, let me know where you're tuning in from, so that I can show my husband that people actually joined today on Saturday morning to learn about AI and pathology. Yeah. So. mm, for this reinforcement learning, the human version, the human feedback involves human assessors offering feedback on the bot's responses. So if you are using ChatGPT, there is an option. I think they have, like, it's embedded in your chat that, oh, was it good, was it bad, what would you want to change? And that's also feedback. That's like part of this reinforcement way of making improving this. I'm not talking about this, oh, can we use your data to improve the model? That's a separate thing, and you can actually switch it off in ChatGPT right now. You can and in Claude and all the other models, you can tell them, no, don't use my data. But the feedback, whether you had a good response or bad response from the bot, helps them improve the model. So let's talk about generative AI versus traditional machine learning platforms. Overview of generative AI models. So generative, as the word says, generates. It creates something. It can be new, it creates something that was not there before. So it can create text, it can create images. Now it can create, oh, music. Let me show you. Let me I have this music, so I played it at the beginning. But basically, I have AI generated music, and next week is Valentine's, so we can play Valentine's music um, in the background. It's AI generated, generative AI in my streaming software. Yeah, it can also generate, so synthetic data can be generated with it. Um, but the the most famous application where it even, well, it didn't start there, but it became famous as a mainstream AI application, was of course our friend ChatGPT, and their large language models that were transformer based neural networks that can produce language outputs resembling those of humans. And they fall under the general umbrella of foundation models. And foundation models, basically, this term means it's a model trained on, oh, sorry, a lot of data. It doesn't mean like any specific way of training model. Foundation model, it has huge amounts of data, and because it was trained on so much data, it can do a lot of things. So basically, like, talk to you. Amazing, right? Mm. So this transformer architecture became famous in 2017. There was a paper called "Attention is All You Need: Parallelization and Self-Attention Mechanisms." So this is a machine. This is an AI architecture. The like how it looks. Um, it's not that relevant to us. You know, you can Google it, but it's the name transformer is important, and because it propelled the AI capabilities to the next level. So the same happened with convolutional neural networks. It was a type of architecture that suddenly started outperforming the old ways of doing things. So that and now this transformer architecture is also used for images and different things. But our popular models, we know ChatGPT from OpenAI, Claude from Anthropic. I use both of them. Gemini from Alphabet, which is Google parent company. I use this one less. I have it, but I didn't leverage it yet. I don't know this Mistral. I think Mistral is maybe open source. And Llama from Meta, I don't use. I know it. I know of it, but I don't use. So another um, like another I don't know, architecture or a way of putting those AI frameworks together. Um, because this was text. The GPT models was text-based foundation models, but we can also use non-text data types, for example, image and tabular, like we said, and something that is worth knowing about are generative adversarial networks. It's actually a combination of two networks or more, maybe, um, that can generate images. Also, something called variational autoencoders and diffusion models. And the introduction of multimodal models such as GPT-4o. Multimodal is going to be an important word, and we're going to talk about it. Multimodal is the power for medicine. Mm, and so multimodal can handle text and data simultaneously. um, and basically, such a model will be able to ingest a diagnostic text query and a pathology image or radiology image or whatever image, and then and like all the other data, and subsequently create a full pathology diagnostic report based on text combination and text query input and the context of the pathology image of interest. That's like, we're not there yet, but the potential for this to happen is there. When you like put it all together, um, you have a lot more context. It's like doctors, like medical professionals interpreting different data points together. Um, so far, the most, well, it's still going to be the most popular, and it's going to be happening in parallel, like the narrow AI applications. And this multimodal is not just stringing narrow AI applications together, but making an application that can take this data, uh, like combine it, not just have them separated, but combine it like a human reader, human evaluator would, right? This is powerful. And comparison of generative AI to traditional machine learning platforms. So they share similarities, but of course they have differences. But that's, if they were the same, they wouldn't be called differently. So example of traditional non-generative AI is going to be classification models. They are created to predict outcome, and they use available data. So we feed it data. There is data given to it, and they use confusion matrix based performance metrics. So these are the metrics that we know from all the image analysis papers. So we talk about accuracy, sensitivity, specificity, and ROC AUC, and generative AI, such as large language models. They produce novel and artificial data, for example, text. So they produce something that was not there before. Um, and they do not possess the same well-defined criteria for evaluation, since it usually involves the generation of paragraph outputs instead of making a simple classification or a call. If you have a classification, it's either correct or incorrect, right? Uh, if you have text, you have to read through it to say, okay, does it make sense or not? Is it in the style I want it to be? So there are different metrics for that. And also, the traditional non-generative AI are the ways of doing things. Models are typically dependent on their labeled training data, right? Generative AI models are less constrained and are able to produce new outputs without explicit guidance. So once, and that's foundation models, because they were trained on so much data, they see patterns, and can generate according to the observed patterns. Whereas the classical non-generative AI, it predicts something from the data that it was fed, and it's usually narrow or smaller data sets, right? Generative kind of predicts, but can predict it so well that it can create. Um, so both AI model types, they have issues. key issues, of course, are bias and ethical constraints, regardless whether it's generative or non-generative, traditional, non-generative. I love to say traditional, non-generative. Traditional, they perpetuate biases found in the original labeled training data, and generative AI generate biases outputs that can be sometimes challenging to identify and mitigate. It also comes from data, but not just like so. For the traditional, a bias would be an example of such bias. Let me see if I have. They already described it. They have a they have a figure in the table for this, of course. But in the traditional way, bias would be okay. There are images coming from one medical center, and it can only predict things, classify things on images from that data center. When you take it somewhere else, excuse me, a lot of talk. When you take it, when you try to deploy the model on a different data set, it's not going to perform. And if you're aware that it's very um, narrow application to a certain data set appearance, then okay, you're not going to be deploying it on a different data set. But if you are not aware of it, you're going to get results, and you're going to think those results are comparable to the results you get on the data set that is similar to the training data set, but they will not be. So basically, you're going to make false predictions and perpetuating bias that can later lead to false diagnosis, false whatever, right? Wrong prediction, wrong outcome of the model. Mm, but it's a narrow data set, right? If you have a huge data set, like for the language models, it's going to be recreating biases that it was, I don't want to say programmed, but basically, societies are biased. There is like, uh, preconceptions, whatever. People are biased, right? And it uh, is represented in the text in like the whole internet. It's going to reproduce what's currently in there, what it was trained on, and there is the danger of reproducing some societal biases, right? So we need to mitigate. Important to know that this can be happening, and this can be happening at scale. It's not that, oh, you're going to make a person aware to like always check for some biases. You're going to make the health professionals aware. This is going to be a tool that can be deployed at scale, and it's not going to be just like everybody's responsibility. Um, it is going to be everybody's responsibility, but not like single persons. We have to discuss the ethics and the way of deploying it. Let me just check how much we have. There is still a little bit to go through, so bear with me. But it's worth it. And you know what? If you're not here live, you can later listen to it at 2x speed. Because when I listen to myself, I feel like when I speak, I feel like I speak very fast. But when I listen to myself, I know I don't speak that fast. And if you are joining midstream, mid live stream, let me know where you're tuning in from. We have people from Europe, we have people from Brazil. Is there anybody from the US? Let me know if you're in the US, because then it's early for you on Saturday morning. So let's move on to AI machine learning toolkits, libraries, and algorithms and neural networks. So data analysis tools and libraries in generative AI and non-generative AI. So researchers use data analysis tools and libraries to extract insights from complex data. And for generative AI, there are frameworks that include OpenAI's GPT-4, Google's Gemini, DALI, Stable Diffusion, LangChain, Llama or Llama Index, AutoGen, Crew AI. I know some of them. Some of them I'm just hearing about them for the first time. But because they're in this paper, they're important enough, so I'm going to learn them. And they can be leveraged to generate synthetic images, augment data sets. So this is something important, augment data sets. If we want to do data augmentation is basically making more data out of fewer data. So an example would be if you train an algorithm, and we need more data for the narrow AI, the classical AI, right? Um, if you train an algorithm to detect mitotic figures, let's say this is like the chromosomes mitotic figure, right? Um, and you have an image of this mitotic figure. My hand is mitotic figure. You human observer, if you turn this image this way or this way, you will still recognize that this is the same mitotic figure. Computer will treat it as an additional data point. So you can like turn it however you want. You can even like make it, stretch it, make it narrow, change the colors, and basically artificially create more data points for an algorithm to be able to detect it later. Back. Uh-oh. Let me know if I'm back. I still see you in the stream. So let me know if I'm back, and I'm gonna start talking again. And there's probably a lag, so let me know. 1 second. Anyway, so is this cheating, moving this mitotic figure? No, it's the same mitotic figure. You can even stretch it. Like, is there a potential for this being like a little bit different? Yes. So it's good to augment data sets. Mm. And then we can use these framework also to develop novel customized chatbots and multimodal models along with multi-agent frameworks. So that's going to be something we're going to be talking about as well. Multi-agent is basically like having an army of AI agents, AI workers that put different frameworks together. And these were the generative AI libraries. Traditional non-generative AI studies in medicine rely on more established libraries and auto ML tools like scikit-learn, PyTorch, TensorFlow, Milo, and STNG to develop predictive models for disease diagnosis, prognosis, and treatment responses. I've heard about these. You probably have as well. And they also use validated synthetic tabular data sets. And this is being used, this enables those tools to be used as clinical decision support workflows. And you can combine the strengths, and it's always you can combine the strengths with both generative and non-generative AI, and that's gonna revolutionize the medical field. And guys, we might need to stop this live stream the moment my kid comes into my YouTube studio, because it's already almost 7 a.m. and they wake up at 7 a.m. But let's continue. Anyway, when he enters, it's my older son. I'm just going to switch off the camera and say bye, and we're going to continue next time from where we stopped. But the my thought was, you combine the tools. It's not that, oh, we have a better tool and now the old tools are not in use anymore. No, we have a bigger toolkit. We can be more precise. We can like we have now like a carpenter, right? It's not just one hammer. As much as I dream of like one tool for everything, um it's not going to happen. And we have a lot of tools, which is good. We need to know what they're good for, when to use them, how to use them responsibly, right? To have a good clinical decision support tool. And what about algorithms and neural networks in generative AI and non-generative AI? Um, at the heart of many AI-enabled tools are those algorithms, sophisticated algorithms, and neural networks. This is an important term. It's an architecture as well, AI architecture. that has propelled the AI development to the next level. So for generative AI, we have LLMs for text generation. Um, and we talked which these are: Gemini, Llama, Mistral. They take advantage of the transformer based neural networks, while synthetic image generators, Stable Diffusion, use diffusion based neural networks. So uh, we mentioned transformer, here is diffusion, but these are still types of neural networks. So these neural networks that were invented in, I think, 57, um, and then in the 70s were the deep learning convolutional neural networks. They are still at the they are still a building block of whatever we're inventing, or whatever the scientists, the AI researchers are inventing right now. Also, we mentioned generative adversarial networks. They can generate synthetic images, and the traditional non-generative AI studies may also rely on more traditional algorithms. So um, not only deep learning, but the classical stuff like thresholding. I should be smaller and show you the text. Um, so, but although deep learning options are the gold standard, um, they can you for image and text analysis. So deep learning is the powerful building block. But and we have non-generative AI convolutional neural networks, for example, the ResNet family. We use these, and in the if you join the DigiPath Digest, the normal ones where I review PubMed publications, there is a lot of them that still uses ResNet, or like different types of deep different types of CNNs, convolutional neural networks. So that's for cancer classification versus no cancer. And it like seems to be a simple task, but when you deploy it at scale, it does help the pathologist, right? A pathologist sees it, which is cancer, which is non-cancer, unless it's a questionable or a difficult case that needs a consultation. But usually you see you're trained for that. But if you need to do it at scale, if these are small foci, these things still help. Um, for tabular data, non-generative AI tasks, for example, classification of diabetes versus no diabetes, we can still employ non-neural network algorithms, which could include random forest, logistic regression, SVM, and KNN, key and nearest neighbor models. So this is like pre-deep learning. It is still in use. We can still use it. One second. This mouse between screens is killing me. Okay, and I saw in the chat that I'm back, which is good. Now, let's talk about open source versus closed source platforms. They have advantages and disadvantages. So we have open source AI frameworks like PyTorch, open source models such as ResNet 50, among others. Of course, there are a lot more. And they are open source and showed their capabilities and true worth, right? But with generative AI, we're thinking, okay, do we want it to be open source, or do we even have the option for this to be open source? Because many are proprietary, developed by companies. For example, GPT, ChatGPT, Claude, this is proprietary. They are uh, a super revolutionary force, and I'm literally using the words from the papers. But there are certain open source LLM models that also provide their value and capabilities. For example, Llama and Mistral, so Mistral family of models. And when it's open source, then you give access to more people, right? So the advantages are obviously they're cost effective and flexible, and they have this community driven innovation. So I don't know if you know how those open source, if you're in the computer science space, obviously open source, you have like a community of people who are interested in developing something, and they go on GitHub or wherever, like Smiley Face. I don't know the names of those platforms, but basically they develop it as a community, and they then can develop like different versions of it. They fork it, so-called, I don't know, that they make a fork, so like a group develops it in a different direction, and there are different versions. So you are not restricted, you're super flexible, but then it's controlled, less controlled environment, and obviously the choice between, and it's for image analysis space and for any type of tools, especially in a regulated environment, you're going to be faced with the question, what is the cost of using something that you have support for, which would be the proprietary thing, where you actually collaborate with a company that has a legal obligation to maintain it in a certain way for you, or do you want the flexibility? Do you want this to be available for free to you, and then you do whatever you want with it, but there's no official support, it can change, and you're more responsible over this. So it's going to be weighing the benefits of cost, collaboration, security, and customization, whether it's going to be open source or not. Mm, where do we even apply AI in pathology and medicine? Image analysis is my favorite. Maybe it's not my favorite anymore, but this is where I started, where I was a pathologist for an image analysis company, and I was working with image analysis scientists, and that was so much fun. It still is so much fun for me. So this is a big application, right? And we have this has happened in radiology, so we can there's potential shown for whole side images and radiology image analysis classification projects. So what we do here, we detect and classify different things. We detect cells, cancer, classify it as certain types of cells, certain types of tissue. We can also work on differential blood counts, anything that you can do on an image, right? Automate urine microscopic analysis, screen liquid-based cytology pap tests, and also do the quantitative image analysis of biomarkers, like all the IHC biomarkers that pathologists are asked to visually guesstimate what's the percentage of cells. You can actually, you don't need to guesstimate, you can calculate it, right? And deep learning models excel in recognizing and quantifying complex patterns within histopathological images, right? And this level of precision is difficult to achieve with classical image analysis. So the classical way was giving thresholds, giving parameters, and the deep learning based is you give examples and it learns from examples, and it's a lot more powerful to teach with examples, because there's no way you can define every particular way a cell or a structure can look, especially to the computer, because computer needs like more instruction. So you give instruction by showing examples, different examples. Then we have tabular data. This is what I learned about the first time I met Human Rashidi at ACVP. He was talking about synthetic tabular data. And here, AI applications can help um, eliminate errors. So, for example, a common source of results errors from blood tests is contamination of blood specimen from intravenous fluids being administered to patients, or mislabeled specimens where the blood is drawn from a different patient than listed on the tube's label. And this, you can use an unsupervised nonlinear nearest neighbor based approach to eliminate those to eliminate those errors, right? And it has shown promise in correctly identifying contamination that is missed by current non-machine learning protocols. And identification of wrong blood in tube errors was assessed using multiple analytes, both logistic regression models as regression and SVM models, and it significantly outperformed traditional detection methods. So if we can employ a tool that is not prone to whatever a human being is affected with like time of day, amount of work that they did before. If you can we can have a consistent tool that screens for this types of errors, fantastic. It's just gonna alert you, hey, double check, and then you double check and you can prevent a fatal error, right? Mm. And another application is that there is an option for a point of care AI ML for use in combat casualty care, whereby acute kidney injury can be predicted from a patient's tabular laboratory data findings when using a novel handheld device measuring blood neutrophil gelatinase associated lipocalin levels. That's a lot of that's a mouthful, but basically it's another tool that can screen for patterns that you visually cannot assess, or like you don't have time when you're attending to patients, but you have this device, and there is a reference number 21. This is a handheld device that measures blood neutrophil gelatinase associated lipocalin levels. So these levels are going to tell you, okay, is there acute kidney injury or not. And another type of data analysis application, text data analysis, NLP, natural language processing. And they, in the past, they were based on human logic. And the problem with words, it's a problem and a blessing, because if you're just using logic, then there's so many combinations, because you can have ambiguity in words, since they are strung into sentences and may have meanings depending on the context, right? They have different meanings, and it's not possible to feed all those contexts. Like, you will not think of all those contexts to classically train an NLP model. But it's not an unlimited number of contexts. So if you give it enough examples with like all the internet, book data, whatever data was used, and where this data came from is a topic for a different discussion. But basically, a lot of data, the computer will be able to see all those patterns without you having to specifically mention them. So then you account for this ambiguity. There are also cross-cultural challenges with text, and generative AI models are revolutionizing text data analysis in healthcare. So they can generate contextually appropriate human-like text, summarize complex medical reports, create synthetic clinical notes for training and testing purposes. So this is like, it has been a game changer for me, since I was able to start dictating things, like dictating loose thoughts, have it transcribed, like for different applications, for like blog posts, everything. And obviously this can be applied to medical data as well. But basically, like, you can extract stuff out of your head in the form you want to extract it, as long as it has formed words. I bet it can also analyze some sounds now as well. But anyway, as long as you can say it, it doesn't have to be polished. It doesn't have to be in a certain format. You extract the stuff from your head in words, and AI helps you structure it. And in the medical context, it's like, I don't know how much it's worth. It's a gold mine, because this is where the time. This is a huge time sink. This is a source of error, where it's like not in the right way, like structured in a right way, not in the right place in the template, right? Because if you rely on logic, you rely on people always being correct when generating certain ways of text. That's not the case here. You can just like have all the unstructured data. That was a big problem with pathology reports. There is this initiative of structured reporting, and some people, some institutions use it, and there are templates, but not everybody uses it. Most of the pathology reports, and definitely in veterinary medicine, it's just free text. Uh, and what are you going to do with free text? Well, now you can do a lot, because we have the large language models that were the foundation large language models that were trained on all those patterns, language patterns, and you can basically query it. You can ask it. You can ask scientific literature. There are apps to Like if you don't want to read the paper, just want to ask questions about the paper, they are powered by retrieval augmented generation. I bet they're going to be talking about that. But basically, like, you have a piece of text and you can ask questions about this text, and your AI is just going to go into that text and find that information, and it's going to show you even which line and all these things, right? So, and the generative models can be trained to extract relevant information from pathology reports, such as cancer diagnosis, treatment plans, generate concise summaries for clinicians and for patients. Like, people don't understand what's in the pathology report. They have to Google it. Now they don't need to Google it. They can have it summarized in an understandable language, understandable for their level of expertise, their level of medical knowledge, right? And here, the holy grail that is already happening, multimodal learning. And modality refers to single type of input or output data. For example, like we said, text, image, video, audio, whatever, right? Different forms of data. Um, and the development of those multimodal approaches will undoubtedly further shape the future of AI. That's a beautiful sentence. Um, Within medicine. But the important thing is that multimodal differs from merely combining different unimodal models that were all trained separately. Um, because they like don't talk to each other. Just text with just image with just, I don't know, audio or whatever, they are optimized for their data input. Instead, the multimodal approach simultaneously combines different types of input data to generate content, as well as improve performance and accuracy. And multimodal models can capture a more comprehensive understanding of complex diseases. This is still work in progress, but it has tremendous potential. But as always, with all tools that are scalable, we need to think about diversity, inclusion, and bias, which again is interesting topic right now in the US. But regardless of the common understanding of these topics, um, in healthcare, the systems have shown that to have intrinsic bias that can be problematic, especially when applied to healthcare. Right, bias can be introduced consciously or unconsciously into the AI life cycle. Consciously or unconsciously, um, we can introduce it in design, development, and deployment stages. So in different stages, it can be introduced. And it is imperative to actively assess the performance of AI models for bias. And because if we want to rectify it and have achieved better health equity, then we need to be aware of that. And we not only like be aware of that, we need to develop framework that check for that. We need to develop some kind of metrics, and there's going to be a paper on this in this series. Uh, so this field, like this discipline, um, needs to have a clear understanding of known health disparities, biases, stereotypes, and discriminatory practices, and their current impact is imperative and can provide key insights for designing AI models. Um, and I want to emphasize this clear understanding. Like, those people who are going to be dealing with it, like, everybody's responsible, but um, those people like need to know more about this, about um and there is an unlimited number of biases, because we are biased by our experience, by our upbringing, by, like, it's a whole societal discussion that we're not going to have right here. But basically, the fact is, people are biased creatures. um, so but we want the tools to be unbiased, so we need to look for that. And mm, there's gonna be there need to be standardized guidelines for bias detection, assessment, and mitigation should remain a priority. Yes, and there were already publications on this. And without careful consideration of the data of training data sets diversity, AI systems risk perpetuating and amplifying existing societal biases related to gender, race, ethnicity, sexual orientation, disability status, and potentially irreversible propagating biases healthcare delivery. Uh, and these are just examples of different biases. And also, the and it's another discussion. I know I'm like going in circles a little bit, and we are almost at the end of the session, and you're still with me. I think you're real digital pathology trailblazers. Um, this discussion is again the discussion that I kind of mentioned. Oh, I would love to have one tool for everything, but exactly because of that, there may not be one tool for everything. They may be a tool, an AI tool for a specific population, and the trick or the art, the science, art, and everything like the important thing is to know that there need to be a tool like that, and not to blanket use a tool on all the patients in the world that was actually only developed on one patient population. And it's a drawback, like the limited generalizability of AI tools is a drawback, but maybe it's inevitable. Maybe it's a strength to know that this a particular tool is not generalizable and not wanna generalize it, but develop different ones. It of course creates more work and a whole another discussion. But um it's something to think about. Like how generalizable can it be? Can we define how much it generalizes so that we don't feed in stuff from outside this domain when it generalizes and then say, oh no, for this patient population or for this region or for that thing we need to use a different tool, or we cannot use a tool at all, we need to ask a pathologist and go back to bench, go back to the classical way of doing things before those tools. And I think as we develop new tools, as they become more sophisticated, as we provide more and more personalized medicine approaches, one of the options is going to be not use the tool. Oh, but like then you're depriving a person from the tool. No, if you know that this tool is not going to work well for this type of treatment, diagnosis, whatever, then it's actually beneficial not to use it because you're not creating any false results, any like confusion. You just do the best you can, and the tool would not be the best you can do. Yeah, that's my rambling on generalizability of tools. Anyway, also explainability in machine learning and AI methods. This is a whole new, well, not new, it has appeared in parallel with the um, black box concept that, oh, what is this AI even doing? Are we arguing with results or not? Do we care how those results were generated or not? Like, let's explain it. And I love this acronym XAI. It's explainable AI. And this provides insight into how decisions are made by such tools, helping in identifying and mitigating biases. We also enable users to better understand the results. And there are different techniques to achieve that. Again, it's not like one explainability tool where you put your model through and it tells you, oh, this model has weights and biases like that and makes this decision because of that. No, it's a toolbox of different tools. Some are still like going back to biology and confirming the AI predictions with another orthogonal, so-called orthogonal, so like something that can prove um, you can prove the same thing with a different method. Like for example, an example. Anyway, an example would be, okay, you can check for metastasis in lymph nodes. You can use a human observer, and let's assume they are perfect for this particular example, or and they are delineating the epithelial cells because they know how they look. And you can use also IHC that stains epithelial cells, and you have two methods showing um, hopefully the same thing, and then you check the AI against those two methods. Um, yeah, one way of one way of actually checking if it's correct, not really explaining it, but that was my explanation of an orthogonal method. And I have people from India. Great to have you. Hello. um Different ways of doing it, very important for the regulators and in general, because we're using automated tool to make decisions about people, and we need to explain why those decisions are made. And techniques such as future importance analysis, model agnostic methods like local interpretable model agnostic explanations, LIME, attention mechanisms in neural networks. um, there are some way, these are some ways. There are other ways. Computer scientists that do XAI do this all day, all week long, and twice on Sunday. And the goal is to reduce the black box elements and enhance trust, right? Facilitate the identification of unintended biases. So, my digital pathology trailblazers, you actually stay till the end. Um, Conclusion and future directions. Uh, the AI applied to healthcare has the potential to revolutionize medical diagnostic research and education. And the revolutionize is a word used by ChatGPT very often, but here it actually fits very well because it has this potential. It has this potential. It also has a lot of challenges, like it's often that the technology is somewhere there, but it cannot be applied because of all the other things that prevent it from actually reaching the place where it can revolutionize something. But the potential is there. There are researchers actively working on it. Um, and let's acknowledge here as well. I'm so happy about this series. This is part of educational effort of CPACE, Computational Pathology and AI Center of Excellence, University of Pittsburgh. This is where Matthew Liren and Human are working at the moment. And look, they did use generative AI, which is perfectly fine. This is what it's designed for, and it can like speed up the process of writing 7 publications. Like, I don't know how much normal 7 publication takes, but a long time. And they managed in, I don't know, 2 years maybe. They used DALI, they used ChatGPT Zero, Adobe Express Online, and I don't know what else they used, but they did use generative AI and they disclose it, and that's okay. And when you go to past the references, maybe next time I'm gonna structure it differently and go to these resources. So what I'm gonna do is I'm basically gonna not now, don't worry, now we're almost done. But table 1, the dictionary of AI and ML commonly used terminology. To be able to speak this language is like any other foreign language. You need to learn the words and you need to learn what those words mean. What I'm gonna do, I'm gonna read this for you, or like have some like speech generator read it for you in the audio form. So in case you don't have like an hour or two to go through all those 200 terms, I will have it ready for you in audio form because I think it's important. And if you need to listen to it twice, or, whatever, some people, if you want to study it, and I think it's worth studying it, and I will probably learn some terms that I'm not using on a regular basis. There are images. Let's see if I can do it myself, or if I will use a tool to do it, or maybe a combination of myself and tool where a commentary is needed. But there's a huge table 1, that has all the terms that you need for AI literacy, basically for AI literacy. And that's the goal of these publications, to make pathology professionals, healthcare professionals, AI literate. Then all the concepts that we talked about are in those tables. Table 2, 3, and 4. We have table 2 for supervised machine learning categories and the definition of this. Table 3, the common unsupervised methods and what the key features are. And then we have the comparison and the table. So if you don't want to read the full table, you go to these sorry, the full paper, you go to these tables and you just use them as cliff notes, which is already super useful. We have the comparison of traditional and generative AI, so non-generative and generative. We have the history of AI and ML. And I heard also some people are being asked to prepare presentations on AI. Cite these papers. This is like a fantastic resource. They are made available. Um, Modern Pathology. They have super cool graphics. Uh, yeah, I love them. Maybe I will make like small videos based on these that you can find on YouTube, like about the history of AI and ML. We'll see, depending on the bandwidth. And here is our journey through this 7-part series. We are here, trailblazers. We still have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 papers to go. I don't know if I will be able to make these live streams as long as I did it today, but you've been here. If you have been here, you already know you'll get access to this. Give me the weekend to put together the recording, the podcasts. The worst option is going to be you're going to get it before we have the next live stream next Friday on Valentine's Day. And maybe I will have a surprise for you on Valentine's Day. So I'm going to tell you what the surprise is. Um, so, together with my team, we're actually working on a shop with different things. I didn't wear my earrings today, where the pathology earrings are. I always have them here. Anyway, pathology earrings, the book is going to be there. Different courses that they kind of hid because I was reworking them. And what I'm going to do, so there's an AI course that I prepared on my own before this series came out, which is actually based on the resources that I have on YouTube, but it's curated. It's like in a logical order. This series edited without all my rambling, let's call it rambling, or like excessive explanations, and our live stream interaction. This series is going to be edited and it's going to be there. So whenever you watch it, whether it's at the time of making this or 2 years in the future and you want to learn it, it's going to be there. And I hope to be able to show it to you next Friday. If not next Friday, then whenever I will be able to show it to you. So thank you so much for staying. You are a true digital pathology trailblazers. If you have been here for 1 hour and a half, I think that's the longest live stream ever. If you're watching this as a recording, let me know in the comments that you were here. Let me know what you want me to do differently next time. Let me know what you liked. If you want to go through the tables and figures rather than through the text, let me know as well. I can adjust it. This was the first intro session of the series. I want it to be useful for you. I want it to be useful not only regarding the content, which I already know is useful, and like more people worked on this. And I see friends here saying hi and waving. Thank you so much for joining. So yeah, give me feedback on what do you like, what do you not like, and I'll adjust whatever I can do to make it easier, that does not require more resources that I have available. I will do it because this is for you. It's going to be on YouTube for free. Oh, I want to thank someone. I don't know who that was. I have to check next time. But on YouTube, there is a way to support a channel. Like you can give a thank you. And somebody gave me a monetary thank you. I think it was, I don't know, $1 or $2 of a super thanks for whether it was a live stream or something. There is a way to support the show in that way. And that just made me that was heartwarming. Thank you so much for your continuous support, showing up, staying till the end, and I talk to you in the next episode.